The year is 2025. A quiet, almost imperceptible but pivotal battle erupted beneath the surface of the e-commerce world. It was a conflict that threatened to change the very landscape of online shopping as we know it. The key players? None other than Amazon's Jeff Bezos and former President Donald Trump, figures known for their influence and occasional clashes. Their disagreement, though seemingly small, had the potential to reshape how every single American shops online, impacting prices, transparency, and the overall shopping experience. At the center of this conflict was a radical idea, a concept that could either empower consumers or create a political firestorm. The question posed was simple, yet profound. Should Amazon be required to show shoppers exactly how much of each purchase goes directly to government tariffs and taxes? Should this information be transparently displayed at the checkout? The backdrop to this debate was the Trump administration's recent imposition of a hefty 145% tariff on a wide range of Chinese imports. This was coupled with a 10% minimum tax on nearly everything else entering the country, a move designed to protect American industries, but with potentially far-reaching consequences for consumers. These tariffs sent shockwaves through Amazon's intricate global supply chain, forcing the company to reevaluate its pricing strategies and operational logistics. Faced with these new financial realities, Amazon found itself in a difficult dilemma, a true crossroads. The company could choose to absorb billions of dollars in new costs, effectively eating into its profit margins. Alternatively, they could pass those costs directly to consumers, leading to higher prices on everyday goods. Or, they could opt for a third, more transparent route. Reveal the tariff as a separate line item on every purchase, clearly showing customers exactly how much they were paying in taxes. This radical transparency, while potentially unpopular with some, could have also turned public opinion against the tariffs themselves, creating pressure for change. However, before Amazon could fully implement this plan, the White House intervened, stepping into the fray and halting the initiative in its tracks. This entire episode served as a stark reminder of the fragile balance of power that exists between tech giants and the government, highlighting the potential for intervention and regulation. And as always, it was the everyday consumers who found themselves caught in the crossfire, their wallets and shopping habits directly affected by these high-stakes political and economic maneuvers. The prices you see on your screen, the promise of fast and reliable delivery, and even the survival of small businesses struggling to compete in the digital marketplace. All of these factors suddenly hung precariously in the balance, teetering on the edge of a critical decision. A tariff in its simplest form is a tax, but it's not just any tax. It's specifically a tax on imported goods. These are the products and materials that are brought into a country from other nations. This tax is typically paid by the companies that are responsible for bringing these products into the country. It's an added cost that they must factor into their business operations. Let's take a look at a tangible example. Imagine a 25% tariff being applied to a $10 toy car that's imported from overseas. That 25% tariff translates to an extra $2.50 that the importer has to pay before they can even begin to sell that toy car to retailers or directly to consumers. This additional cost can significantly impact their profit margins. Tariffs are often implemented with the intention of protecting domestic industries from foreign competition. The idea is to create a more level playing field for businesses operating within the country. This is achieved by making foreign goods more expensive, thus reducing their price advantage and encouraging consumers to purchase domestically produced alternatives. Beyond protecting local industries, tariffs also serve as a source of revenue for the government. The money collected from these taxes can be used to fund various public services and initiatives. Furthermore, tariffs are frequently employed as a tool to gain leverage in international negotiations, allowing countries to exert pressure on their trading partners to achieve desired outcomes. They can also be used as a form of retaliation in trade disputes, where one country imposes tariffs on another in response to perceived unfair trade practices. During his presidency, Donald Trump frequently utilized tariffs as a signature tool to reshape trade relationships and achieve specific economic goals. He particularly focused on using tariffs to pressure countries like China, aiming to address what he considered to be unfair trade practices and imbalances. A key objective of these tariffs was to reduce trade deficits, which occur when a country imports more goods and services than it exports. However, it's crucial to recognize that tariffs are a double-edged sword, with both potential benefits and drawbacks. While they can provide a boost to certain local industries by making imported goods less competitive, the overall impact is far more complex. One of the most common consequences of tariffs is that they almost inevitably lead to higher prices for consumers who ultimately bear the burden of the added costs. Furthermore, the imposition of tariffs can often trigger retaliatory measures from other countries, leading to a cycle of escalating trade tensions. These retaliatory tariffs can significantly hurt American exporters as their products become more expensive and less competitive in foreign markets. This can escalate into full-blown trade wars, with damaging consequences for all parties involved, disrupting global supply chains and hindering economic growth. Therefore, the seemingly simple act of taxing imports can have far-reaching and complex implications for the global economy. The implementation of tariffs can send shockwaves through the entire economy, affecting businesses, consumers, and international relations. What might initially appear as a relatively small fee levied at the border can have a cascading effect on the entire economic system. This seemingly minor tax can ripple outwards, ultimately raising costs for businesses and consumers alike, and creating a climate of economic uncertainty that affects everyone. The new tariffs hit Amazon with an estimated $13 billion in extra costs, threatening its low-price promise. Electronics were hardest hit. Smartphones, laptops, TVs, and smart home devices, many made in China, now faced massive price hikes. Clothing, toys, furniture, and even car parts weren't spared. If it had a Made in China label, it was suddenly much more expensive. Small businesses relying on affordable Chinese goods faced a crisis: raise prices and lose customers or go under. The $13 billion wasn't just a corporate problem, it threatened the livelihoods of thousands of American entrepreneurs. For shoppers, it meant higher prices on everyday items and fewer choices. The tariffs' impact was immediate, reshaping what Americans could afford and what sellers could offer. Amazon's leadership considered a bold move: show customers exactly how much tariffs added to each product's price. The plan was to add a line, includes X% US government tariff, on every affected item, making the hidden tax visible. This would have shifted blame for price hikes from Amazon to government policy and educated millions about the real cost of tariffs. Engineers even began designing the feature, but the risks were enormous. Labeling the Trump tariff on every page would have been seen as a direct challenge to the administration. Amazon risked becoming a political target, with potential retaliation from Washington. Ultimately, the company shelved the plan, choosing caution over confrontation. The chance for radical transparency vanished before the public ever saw it. News of Amazon's transparency plan quickly reached the White House, sparking immediate outrage. President Trump himself called Jeff Bezos, making it clear he saw the move as a political attack. The conversation was tense. Trump warned that Amazon would face government scrutiny if it went ahead. For Amazon, the threat was real. Federal agencies could make life difficult for the company. Under this pressure, Amazon's leaders backed down, halting the transparency project overnight. The episode showed that even the world's biggest tech companies can be forced to yield to political power. The cost of tariffs was quietly folded into prices, invisible to shoppers. The battle for transparency ended with a single phone call. With transparency off the table, the true impact of these tariffs remained largely hidden from the public eye. Amazon and its sellers, facing increased costs across the board, had no choice but to raise prices on a wide range of goods. This was a direct consequence of the tariffs, and it affected everything from electronics to household essentials. Products hit by the staggering 145% China tariff saw dramatic and immediate increases in price, making them significantly less competitive in the market. A $100 gadget, once an affordable option, could now cost a whopping $245, effectively pricing it out of reach for many consumers. This created a significant barrier to entry for those seeking affordable electronics. Even a seemingly small 10% tariff on other imports began to ripple through the economy, made everyday items from groceries to clothing noticeably more expensive, impacting household budgets across the nation. Consumers started to feel the pinch as their purchasing power diminished. Shoppers, long used to Amazon's reputation for low prices and competitive deals, faced sticker shock at the checkout, and as a result, started cutting back on non-essential purchases and carefully evaluating their spending habits. Discretionary spending took a hit as consumers prioritized necessities. For many goods, particularly specialized components and materials, American-made alternatives simply didn't exist, leaving businesses and consumers with limited options, ultimately leaving consumers to either pay significantly more for the imported goods or simply go without the products they needed or desired. This created a sense of frustration and limited consumer choice. Tariffs also snarled Amazon's famously fast and efficient delivery network, adding further complications to the online shopping experience. Customs delays due to increased inspections, the burden of extra paperwork required for tariff compliance, and overall supply chain bottlenecks created significant disruptions. These factors combined to significantly slow down shipments, impacting delivery times and customer satisfaction, and made Amazon Prime's promise of 2-day delivery increasingly harder to guarantee, leading to customer complaints and a decline in perceived value. Sellers, growing wary of the risks associated with unsold inventory due to fluctuating demand and increased costs, ordered less stock from overseas suppliers, ultimately leading to more frequent, out-of-stock notices on popular items, frustrating customers and impacting sales. The once seamless and reliable Amazon shopping experience began to crack under the pressure, revealing vulnerabilities in its supply chain and pricing strategies, revealing just how vulnerable it was to global trade disruptions and the complex interplay of international tariffs and trade policies. The new normal? A changed retail landscape, higher prices across the board, slower deliveries than customers had come to expect, and a noticeable reduction in choice and product availability. The tariffs forced companies to rethink decades-old supply chains built around China. Suddenly, manufacturing in China was no longer viable for many products. Businesses scrambled to find new partners in Vietnam, Mexico, India, and beyond, triggering a global shift in investment. But these new hubs lacked China's scale and efficiency, leading to delays, quality issues, and higher costs. Amazon's logistics network, optimized for Chinese imports, had to be reconfigured for a fragmented, unpredictable world. Managing inventory and shipping from dozens of new locations added complexity and expense. These disruptions drove prices even higher and made fast delivery less reliable. The global supply chain, once invisible to shoppers, was now a source of daily frustration. For ordinary Americans, the tariffs meant their paychecks didn't stretch as far on Amazon. Families had to make tough choices. Postpone a laptop purchase, skip new furniture, or settle for less. Small businesses, especially those built on importing from China, faced ruin. Many couldn't survive the new costs, leading to layoffs and closures. As small sellers disappeared, Amazon's marketplace lost diversity and innovation, becoming dominated by bigger players. Shoppers found fewer unique products and less competition. The uncertainty made both consumers and entrepreneurs anxious, wary of sudden price changes or new policies. The real cost of the trade war was felt in every household and small business. The Amazon-Trump tariff clash revealed how fragile global e-commerce really is. Even the biggest tech giants can be forced to bow to political pressure, sacrificing transparency for survival. The era of ever cheaper, ever faster online shopping may be over, replaced by volatility and higher prices. Small businesses are especially vulnerable, while large corporations may dominate a less competitive marketplace. The dream of a level playing field for entrepreneurs has been shaken. In the end, the hidden costs of global trade are paid by the public, one way or another. The story is a warning. In a world of economic walls, the price of everything is shaped by politics as much as by business.